You just got the promotion. The big one. The one you worked 3 years for. Your salary jumps by 30% overnight. And for about 48 hours, you feel like you've finally made it. Then something happens. The apartment you're renting suddenly feels too small for someone at your level. You upgrade. Your old car feels embarrassing in the new parking garage. You upgrade. Your friends are celebrating with you. And somehow dinner is at a restaurant that costs what your weekly groceries used to. You pay. Because you can now. Because you've earned it. 6 months later, you check your savings account. It looks almost identical to what it was before the raise. Maybe worse. You're not bad with money. You are not irresponsible. You're not unusual. You're simply running a race that has no finish line, and nobody ever told you that was the race you were in. There's a phenomenon that financial researchers have studied for decades, and it has a polite clinical name: lifestyle creep. But that name is too gentle, too forgiving. What actually is a trap. A trap that is perfectly designed, completely invisible, and it springs automatically the moment your income goes up. Here is how it works. When you earned less, your spending was constrained by reality. You bought what you could afford. You developed habits, routines, a sense of normal that matched your paycheck. Then the paycheck grew, and your sense of normal, that invisible internal benchmark for what counts as acceptable, comfortable, deserved, that benchmark quietly moved upward with it. You did not consciously decide to want more. It simply happened. The same way water finds cracks in concrete. Silently. Completely. And here is the cruelest part. Every single upgrade felt earned. Every single one was justifiable. You worked hard. You deserve a nicer apartment. You deserve a better car. You deserve to stop checking prices at restaurants. None of those thoughts are wrong, exactly. They are just expensive. And they compound. Dan is 38 years old. He makes good money. He has made good money for a long time. He works in software, lives in a mid-sized city, has a wife and 2 kids. On paper, he is the kind of person who should have financial freedom within reach. But Dan has a problem. Every time he tries to calculate when he can actually stop grinding, stop worrying, stop checking his accounts every Sunday, the number keeps moving. 5 years ago, he thought 1.2 million would be enough. Then he calculated the lifestyle he was actually living and realized he needed 1.8. Then they had a second child and bought a bigger house, and the number became 2.3. Then a promotion came, and suddenly his monthly expenses had somehow adjusted to match the new income, and the number he needed became 3 million. Dan is not reckless. Dan is not stupid. Dan is chasing a finish line that keeps getting repainted further down the road. Every raise gives him the feeling of momentum, but the destination never gets closer, because nobody ever asked Dan, in a serious way, in a way he had to answer, what is actually enough for you to be happy? The question sounds simple. It is not. Most people have never genuinely asked it. They have a vague sense that more is better. They have a cultural script that equates upgrading with success. They measure their financial progress against people who earn more, spend more, own more. So their definition of enough is perpetually just slightly above wherever they currently are. It is a moving target, and a moving target cannot be hit. This is not a character flaw. This is the default human response to an open-ended question with no defined answer. When there is no ceiling, you keep building. When there is no finish line, you keep running. That is simply what happens. The trap does not require carelessness. It requires only the absence of a deliberate answer to a single question. What would your life need to look like for you to feel genuinely, sustainably content? Not rich, not wealthy beyond imagination, not set for 10 generations. Just done, secure, free, enough. Here is what Dan eventually did. And this is the part that changed everything. He sat down, alone, not with a financial advisor, not with a spreadsheet tool, just with a piece of paper, and he wrote out the life he would actually be satisfied with. Not the life of his most aspirational self. Not the life he imagined when he was 25 and certain that success meant a certain kind of house in a certain kind of neighborhood. The life he would genuinely, honestly be happy to wake up inside every morning for the next 30 years. What he came up with surprised him. It was not extravagant. His family needed a comfortable home, Not the largest one available, a comfortable one. They needed two reliable cars, not luxury vehicles, reliable ones. They needed good food, good schools, a few vacations per year, and enough margin in the budget to not feel anxious about a broken appliance or medical bill. He added it up. He found the actual number, the real cost of the life that would make him feel like enough. And then he drew a line. He called it his ceiling, not his floor, his ceiling. This is the lifestyle I am capping myself at. Whatever I earn above this, I am not touching it for lifestyle. It goes somewhere else. It works. It builds. Now here is where something extraordinary begins to happen. And it is almost mechanical in how it works. When Dan got his next raise, and it came because he kept performing, kept advancing, he did not upgrade his life. He held the line. The raise went entirely into investments. His lifestyle cost the same. His income went up. The gap between what he spent and what he earned widened. When he got his next raise after that, same thing. The gap widened again. His lifestyle did not change. His investment balance changed. Dramatically. Month after month, the money he used to unconsciously convert into a bigger apartment or a nicer car was instead compounding quietly in the background. Dan did not feel deprived. This is important. He was already living well. He was already comfortable. The things he had defined as enough, he had all of them. He was not white-knuckling it through deprivation. He was simply not adding more. Not adding more furniture he did not need. Not adding more car than he genuinely wanted. Not adding more square footage that would just require more cleaning and more property tax. He was, for the first time, running a race with a finish line he had drawn himself. And every raise brought that finish line measurably closer. Let's talk about the math of this for a moment, because the numbers are clarifying in a way that rhetoric is not. Imagine two people. They both earn the same salary. Over 10 years, both receive identical raises. Both are competent, hardworking, financially literate. Person A follows the default pattern. Every raise subtly expands their lifestyle. They upgrade gradually, reasonably, defensibly. By year 10, they are living noticeably better than they were in year 1. Nicer apartment, newer car, more frequent travel, better restaurants. They are also saving about the same percentage of their income as they were at the start, because their expenses grew with their earnings. Person B draws a ceiling in year 2. They define enough. They live that defined life from year 2 onward. Every raise goes past the ceiling. By year 10, their lifestyle looks essentially identical to what it looked like in year 4. But their investment account looks nothing like Person A's. Because while Person A converted each raise into comfort, Person B converted each raise into capital. The gap between them is not a small gap. Compounded over 10 years, the difference in invested capital between these two people, earning identical salaries, receiving identical raises, can easily be 5 to 7 times larger in Person B's favor. Not because Person B earned more, because Person B spent less of what they earned, because they knew when to stop. There is a version of you that has been playing this game by the wrong rules for years, maybe decades. A version of you that has received raises, maybe several, and watched each one dissolve into a slightly more expensive version of the same life. Not dramatically, subtly, defensively. A version of you that, if pressed, could not give a clean, specific answer to the question, how much do you actually need to feel done? That version of you is not a failure. That version of you was simply never given the tool, never handed the framework, never told that the alternative to unconscious lifestyle expansion is not deprivation. It is definition. It is the act of drawing your own ceiling instead of letting the market and your social circle draw it for you. The ceiling is not a punishment. It is a boundary. And boundaries, when they're the right boundaries, are not limitations. They're the thing that makes freedom possible. Think about what financial freedom actually requires. Not the abstract concept, the specific mechanism. You need the gap between what you earn and what you spend to be large enough and sustained long enough that your capital base can generate returns equal to or greater than your expenses. That is it. That is the entire formula. Income minus spending, invested over time, reaching critical mass. Every single piece of that formula is affected by your definition of enough. If your definition of enough is vague and upwardly mobile, Your expenses will track your income forever. The gap never grows. The capital never reaches critical mass. You are productive. You are hardworking. You are financially stuck. If your definition of enough is specific and fixed, your expenses stay flat while your income grows. The gap widens automatically, without effort, every time you get a raise. The capital grows faster because more of it exists. The timeline to freedom compresses. Years come off the clock, sometimes many years. This is why defining enough is the cheat code. Not because it requires genius. Not because it requires sacrifice beyond what most people would genuinely feel. Because it is a single decision, made once deliberately with honesty, that changes the fundamental math of every financial decision you make afterward. It is leverage. It is the highest leverage financial move that the fewest number of people ever make. Here is how to actually do it. Not theoretically, practically. Take 30 minutes this week. No spreadsheet required yet. That comes later. Just paper or a blank document. And answer this honestly. What does my life need to contain for me to feel genuinely satisfied? Not impressed. Not admired. Not wealthy looking. Satisfied. Write it down specifically. Not a nice home, describe the home. Not good vacations, how many per year, what kind. Not financial security. What number in your account would make you actually feel secure? Not anxious? Go through every category. Housing, transportation, food, travel, entertainment, children's education, if applicable, health, retirement, buffer for the unexpected. Add it up. Get the actual number. The monthly cost of the life you would genuinely be happy to live forever. Then look at what you are currently spending. Compare the two numbers. If what you're spending is already above the number you wrote down, that is information. It means you're already past enough, and you have been converting the excess in a lifestyle rather than freedom. If you are below the number you wrote down, that is also information. It means your ceiling is ahead of you, and you have room to grow your life toward it deliberately rather than reactively. Either way, you now have a number. You have a ceiling. You have something concrete enough to make decisions against. The next time you get a raise, and you will get one, you will have a choice that you may not have had before. Not because the choice did not exist, but because you did not have the framework to see it clearly. You can let the raise flow naturally into your lifestyle, the way water flows downhill, and feel the temporary pleasure of an upgrade, followed by the permanent adjustment of a new normal. Or you can hold the line, redirect the delta, let the gap between your ceiling and your income become the engine that does the work. That engine, once started, runs quietly. It does not require discipline in the agonizing, white-knuckle sense of the word. It does not require you to monitor every purchase or live in artificial scarcity. It requires only that you have already answered the question, clearly, specifically, honestly, so that when the money comes, you already know where it belongs. Most people spend their entire working lives earning more and feeling approximately as financially anxious as they always did. Not because they failed, not because they were unlucky, because the race they were running was designed to have no end. Every new income level revealed a new lifestyle just above it. Every upgrade became the new baseline. Every milestone became the new floor. You now know the race does not have to work that way. You could draw the finish line yourself. You can decide, with specificity and with honesty, what is genuinely enough for you. Not for the imaginary future version of yourself. Not for the person your colleagues assume you are. Not for the benchmark your neighborhood sets. For you, the actual you. Living the actual life you would find genuinely meaningful and satisfying. Draw that line. Hold it. Let everything above it compound. The gap between what is enough and what you earn is not a number to be ashamed of. It is the most powerful financial asset you have. And unlike the market, unlike your employer, unlike the economy, it is one of the few things you get to control completely. Start there.